did you wind up with the John Lennon job?
The John Lennon job is a mystery. I don't know. Jack Douglas, who produced the record, contacted my manager and said John was putting together a band to make a record and he wanted me to play on the record. The only connection I could make is that we're both on Young Americans because he co-wrote Fame with Bowie and we did a cover of Across the Universe on that record as well.
What was it like to work with John?
It was great. It was great. The funny thing was, though, is that I don't remember doing any of the Young Americans with him, but he remembered me doing Young Americans with him. So we cut 2 albums at once. One of them was released as Double Fantasy, which we actually finished all the way, overdubs and mixing, which came out, I guess, in the fall of, or early winter of 1980. The second, which we never finished, but he had done guide vocals that were good enough to put out. And it was left the way it was mixed, there was no overdubs on it, and that was put out and called Milk and Honey maybe about 2 years later. So that was the last works, I was on the last works.
Yoko called you back in to finish up parts on that?
I might have done, you know what, I came in to do her record after that, because I didn't do any overdubs on the there was some extra tracks added, which I wasn't on. Which is fine, because I was just as happy to just be on the original stuff that was done.
That's a pretty impressive experience.
Kid in the candy store, the whole time, you know, you sit there and you look at who you're working with. You get used to a routine every day. John's just one of the guys in the band some days, and some days you're sitting there going, I'm in the studio with the goddamn Beatle. you know, you go back and forth between, you know, a day-to-day routine and the reality of what you're really doing. It's a fun job.
What's the most, since you've been sideman to, you know, some absolutely amazing talents, anything that you'd like to tell guitar players out there, you know, about how to
do that?
Surviving on the road.
Well, the surviving on the road thing just depends. I went through the adolescent period that went to about 36 years of age. I'm not saying I didn't have a good time. It didn't end up being such a hell of a good time at the very end, but it was cool. You're going to do what you do when you go out there. You are who you are, and you're going to go on the road, and you're going to act like a human, or you're not going to act like a human, you know, and you'll learn or you won't learn. I learned. One thing I knew how to do all along, and I still do, is that always realize that if you're playing in a band with somebody, okay, if your name's not on the marquee, your name's not on the marquee. And you always have to remember that. That you are there to make whoever brought you into the situation, i.e. a Bowie, I'm there to do what he needs me to do to make his show work good for him, period. And if you do that well enough and you're with the right guy, like with David, he cuts the reins and lets you go. He's just like, okay, Slicky, we're starting a tour. There's your spot. It's yours. Work it. Mm-hmm. That's your job. And when you work with somebody long enough, you know when to get up front to the stage, when to come back. Because you know every singer needs to take a break. Mm-hmm. So he would disappear, and I knew if I could watch his body language, I could tell what he was doing, what I needed to do next. And when you work with somebody, A, long enough, and B, that's as good as him, it's not rocket science to figure out what you should be doing. But that, for sideman, you know, if you're going to be a sideman, you got to realize that it's great doing your own material and having your own band and all that. But if you are going to be a sideman, you have to know that you have to be in there for what the end result is going to be. As much for yourself, because we all got our ego, we want to be out there. But the goal is to make the show work.
Plus, I think the other thing that's really important is you are, I would describe you as a remarkably solid rhythm player. You can just sit back there, you know, with the amp on tilt and chunk out beat and progression and just sort of cop a groove with that rhythm section that very few people can do.
That's what I like to do the best.
Yeah.
I mean, live, I prefer not to play a lot of solos. I love doing parts in the studios and cool sounds and solos and stuff. But for the most part, I like playing rhythm guitar more than anything else, because it's where the emotion comes from for the most for me. Because then I could listen to the words more. I could listen to the singer's melodies. I could listen to the band. Because to me, when I go into a rhythm part, and when I'm doing a rhythm guitar, I don't think, period. It's automatic. I don't even know what I'm playing. I don't look at my hands. I pay no attention to what I'm doing. I just get into what I'm doing, which is why I do this in the first place. Because it's the only time in my life when I'm doing that is when this thing is quiet and there's nothing from the outside can get in. Leads are different. You know, they're fun, but I just don't like to do a lot of them.
So once again, thank you so much for, you know, for being such a good friend to me and, you know, and recommending me to people. You know.
You've done me a lot of good as well.
Well.
And you even took good pictures today. And we didn't even argue about the photos this time.
No. I don't think we've ever argued about
Now we get
photos.
into our little, the Larry clean world versus the Slicky distorted
Dirty,
world.
Distorted world.
And you're the one making the distortion pickups.
I am. I truly am.
No, they're great. It's going to be good.
Excellent.
Let's eat Italian food.
Thank you so much. Let's eat Italian food.